Mabuhay, Kamusika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. How late am I? It's 9 minutes after 6, and this live stream is starting late. In fact, I forgot to not even have time to comb my hair because I was having trouble with the computer. So I apologize for that, but it kept going to what they call it, beta view, and I didn't want beta view, so it looked different. It was asking me to put in a code somewhere, which I've never done. And then I noticed off to the bottom right something about classic view live stream, and I tried that about 5 times, and it kept going back to the same old screen before. It kept going back to beta anyway, so I just about ready to give up. I felt like I'm about half an hour late, but then I noticed I clicked on webcam because it kept going to beta, and then it gave me something that looked familiar, which is this. So I've been trying for about half an hour to get this to work, and here we go. So now I know next time that since it's going to be making changes like that, what I have to do. So I'm glad I'm only 10 minutes late, and I apologize for that. So kind of saddened here about the Paris situation out there. Isa and I went there for our second wedding anniversary. We went to the cathedral, and it's an enormous structure. It took 300 years, I think, to to build that to what you see today. And it's like 12th century. It's very old. It's incredible in there, and it's burning down to the ground, and very sad because that was a wonderful trip we had. And now when they take people there on tours, they'll have to show them this is where the Notre Dame Cathedral used to be. So we'll get started today. The love stream, live stream, love stream. Topic today is, do you have game to court a Filipina? We're going to talk about game, and we're going to try to correct some misconceptions. An anonymous source of excellent information who supports Love Beyond the Sea called Mystery suggested this topic for me. In fact, he selected the main points and gave me his thoughts on them. And then I will, go over my, contribution to that as well. I was alone for 30 years. Yes, if you're new, 30 years looking and waiting for someone to start a relationship with. I tried hard. I thought I was doing the right thing. Maybe it was because I lacked game with the ladies. I probably did lack confidence after all that time, getting shut out for so long. You begin to, question if there's something wrong with you. So I'm doing this video with the assistance of the enigmatic Mr. E to determine what kind of game a man really needs, a young man or old, to court a Filipina. Now, what can some people consider game, I consider playing games, and a Filipina has had enough of that. A Filipina is highly coveted as a wife, and if you want to appeal to her, stay tuned for the type of game that gives you the best chance to succeed. This is probably the most tired I've ever been doing a live stream, so hopefully we'll get through this okay. I think this is an interesting topic. We'll talk about game, sexual market value, and so on and so forth. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea for encouragement to help to date and marry a Filipina. Tonight we are talking about the type of, we'll talk about game and what it is, what kind you need. We will talk about sexual market value, the sexual marketplace, and marriage market value. You will learn that game for one country won't produce the same results as game in a place like the Philippines, where I married my wife in May of 2015. Comments are always welcome, and get notifications, and sharing these videos will help get the word out about finding love beyond the sea. I'm going to share Mr. E's comments and follow with my own. And again, you're welcome to comment anytime. And I will even reveal some aspects tonight that I discovered about my sexual market value, how I scored in some respects, or some aspects, I guess. First of all, what is game? And this is from Mr. E. A guy that is a secret guy, but he knows a lot about a lot of different topics. What is game? This is his comment. While pickup artists and dating gurus make game to be out some mystical science that no mortal man can ever grasp, with long, drawn out explanations of what it is and different concepts to make them sound smart, all the while trying to extract money from suckers and desperate men. I am here to tell you game is the science of courting, attracting, and keeping women. So, again, game is the science of courting, attracting, and keeping women. Now, this is me. From the Urban Dictionary, it's confidently using your attributes, characteristics, and overall personality to win the affection of the woman you want. I like how Mr. E's definition included the part about keeping women. I think that using techniques designed to attract women only take you so far before something of more substance is needed. And what is the point of attracting a woman you can't keep or don't plan on keeping? Now, actually, forgot to say, I'm going to put a couple of links in the description box. And from the second one, which is a very detailed analysis of, sexual market value and game and so on, this is what you can see there. It says, when you hear someone say, that guy has game, he basically has some attitude or confidence. He's interesting and is able to calibrate well because he has social intelligence. And they say ability to be interesting and appealing on some level. Okay, so that kind of simplifies things. The ability to be interesting and appealing on some level. My thoughts here, I think the interesting and appealing on some level applies well to marriage-minded men seeking marriage-minded Filipinas. I don't consider myself as having had game when I met the woman I married in the Philippines, but what was interesting and appealing to her was that unlike the many players Filipinas come across, I wanted a wife and I needed a wife. I wanted to be a quality husband and explained I was a Christian who was looking for another Christian. I recommend being transparent about yourself and what you're looking for. Um, it's not always easy for some guys, but I don't know. I just think the fastest way to get there is a straight line. You're doing online dating, and you should just, what have you got to lose? Just say, this is who I am. This is what I'm like. This is what I'm looking for. And that worked for me. So I always recommend that for other people. The profile I had maybe wouldn't have appealed to everyone, but it appealed to my wife, and that is what mattered most. Often the phrase having game is used from those who are trying to seduce women. There's nothing wrong with using your attributes, characteristics, and personality to attract a woman, but there is when it reaches the level of copying what others do or to be pretending to be somebody you're not, then to me it becomes playing games. Mr. E will elaborate on this in the next point. What is game boiled down to and why everyone has or can learn game? When boiled down to its basic concepts, game only requires two key things: confidence and constantly self-improving yourself as a man. Confidence and constantly self-improving yourself as a man. Self-improvement is characteristics and attributes. Self-improvement is the most important quality of game, as you are maximizing your personality, your characteristics, and attributes that you were born with. And any man can do this or can learn to make themselves better. He says game is not faking or making yourself appear like something you're not. Game is not about lying, either to yourself or to others. It's not about shelling out money for sex. It's not complaining about how you look, how short you are, or how you act. He goes on to say, I can guarantee there are some seriously disfigured, messed up people who have wives and families. So to say you look ugly or are short is an excuse. This type of attitude is the loser mentality. He says game is all about being a winner and being proud of who you are. It is about being proud and marketing these qualities to the opposite sex. At the end of the day, game is sales only. You are selling yourself to women. And I think you'd like to believe that if you just be yourself, um, and unpretentious, that you will appeal to somebody that likes what you have to offer. I certainly don't want to offer a fake image or a profile or come across in a way that really isn't true. So now my thoughts: selling yourself to women can be intimidating. I bet we all feel like we should just be able to be ourselves, not make any changes in our appearance, for example, and always be accepted. No one wants to feel like they have to do something different, because that implies there's something wrong with them in the first place. But if it can be improved, why not improve it? Maximizing your personality, characteristics, and attributes that you were born with. That is simply building on what you already have. An introvert isn't going to become an extrovert, for example. I'm not saying the self-improvement changes are an absolute necessity either. When I was in my 30s, someone I respected who got married, quote, late, according to them, at 30, as he said, told me I must do something different if I was going to find a wife. He might even have pleaded with me to play the game, using those terms. What he was talking about was the game, not having game. He said I needed to make changes if I was ever, going to get married. He told me that I needed to change my hair, I had to buy a better car, I should go to college. And I was, at that time, probably early 30s. Now, because this is what women were looking for, he said, and if I did nothing, if I didn't change these things, I was not likely to find anyone. Now, I think, probably like many people, he was giving me advice from his own experience, and that's it's not always going to work for everybody because we are different. In my case, I think God made me wait so long. It could be a million reasons, but one of the reasons was, to end up meeting my Filipina wife. I remember this man said to me, "Bob, I know you don't want to hear this, but you have to play the game." This man was a pastor back in the 90s at a church that I attended. Now, a friend of mine who knew this man laughed out loud when I told him this, and he was single at the time also and had no prospects, probably about the same age as me. And this fellow drove a very old car, was not a stylish dresser. He wasn't trying to be defiant. He just didn't agree with this other person. And one day, out of nowhere, a woman joined the church. He asked her out, and they had been married a long time. I assume they're still married. It's a good thing that she did, because over time he developed a serious liver condition that ended up requiring a transplant, and at one point $1 million worth of bills. And that was a long time ago, and there's probably been more money added to that too. Because this woman had great health insurance, it was covered. Now, did he try to improve on what he was blessed with? Probably not. But just the same, I think it is wise to maximize your personality, characteristics, and attributes that you were born with. To be honest with you, I eventually did lease a better car, although I think that was mostly because the other one I drove for a long time started failing, and it was just beginning to be unsafe. So I thought I just would try leasing a car, and I really liked leasing the car. I thought it worked out pretty good for me. And so I leased a car. I started buying better clothes. Didn't do a whole lot with my hair, and I certainly wasn't interested in going to college in my 30s. What worked for the man who gave me this advice, however, did not work for me. Now, of course, I did finally marry at age 53, and looking back, I think I wasn't ashamed of who I was. I didn't try to reinvent myself. I simply tried a different country, what I call taking the brown pill, and marketed as it were who I was to prospective Filipinas. And I'll talk more about that later. Regarding maximizing your personality characteristics and attributes that you were born with, I am basically sober-minded and can be intense and very serious at times. I would say that I used those attributes when looking for a wife overseas. It appealed to my wife that I was serious about marriage and had a plan and vision for what I wanted my marriage to be like. She has said my profile was very long, but I don't think it was that long. At the time, I was in the best shape of my life, but she really hasn't commented on that. She did like my seriousness about marriage and that I was transparent, something that has really never been hard to do. Generally, if I do something that's important to me, I throw myself totally into it, getting immersed into it. The way I approached pursuing her was something very natural to me. I didn't have to pretend to be someone else just to increase my chances of success with a Filipina. What is SMP, otherwise known as sexual marketplace? SMP, sexual marketplace. According to Mr. E, he says, whether you know it or not, you're in the sexual marketplace. Everyone is. From a man's perspective, the sexual marketplace is the competition you have with other men to maximize your chances of finding a mate and having children to pass on your genes. Humans like to forget and gloss over that we are somehow evolved, that we aren't animals. While this is true in many things, we are still governed by our instincts and biology. Everyone in the sexual marketplace is constantly trying to outdo members within their sex group. The two universal drivers that both men and women are governed by is to raise their own sexual market value or marriage market value above their competition and to lower their competitors. Now, myself, well, I had worked many years and had saved up some money, had gotten into the best shape of my life in my early 50s. I wish I still was. And still, it seemed like a relationship was an afterthought anymore. I assumed I had been raising my, sexual market value and marriage market value, yet to no avail. I was even learning as much as I could about marriage because I wanted to be prepared for it, but it was seemingly becoming pointless. Mr. E will talk about marriage market value later in this live stream. The key for me was discovering that I had more marriage market value in a different part of the world, that being the Philippines, and so have others, including men who watch Love Beyond the Sea. Mr. E made the comment, while pickup artists and dating gurus make game out to be some mystical science that no mortal man can ever grasp with long, drawn-out explanations of what it is and different concepts to make them sound smart, this is an example. And this might have been one of the links that I put in there. This is one idea or concept of sexual market value. It's a formula. You take attractiveness plus social status plus style minus nose length plus weight plus C, I'll talk about C, plus height, and somehow that equals sexual market value. And here's what C equals. Truck, it's a type of car. Truck, 30 points. Car, 20. SUV, 10. I have an SUV. Hybrid, 300. Motorcycle, 0. They have Vespa, 600, which is an Italian motor scooter. Van, 25. Classic car, 5. Dune buggy, minus 42, to give you an example. So now I'm going to give you another one in the other link, and I would recommend looking at this one. I think it's more useful, and I'll go through it with you as far as how I scored, and you might be thinking about where you might fall on this. And this is for Western women. It's determining sexual market value with someone from the West. For example, they have age, face, race, tribe, which is like businessman. They say bad boy, cool guy, average guy, low ranking tribe. They have height, body, fitness, and style. For example, age. Within 5 years, that gives you the best score. Within 10 years, and it didn't copy off here, so I'm not sure how many points it got. Within 10 years, it's 2 points. Within 15 years, 1, and it goes down. Within 20 years, 0. Within 25 years, -1. And I happen to be 27 years older than my wife. Then they have movie star, and I wish I knew that that number didn't print out here, but for some reason it didn't. So maybe it's a 10. Maybe that's the highest ranking. Movie star, that's your highest. Good looking, 4. Average, 2. Below average, 1. Ugly, they say, -1. You're supposed to add these scores up. Race, they have white getting the highest score. Her race, if you're the same race, they have a 2. Black, Latino, 2. Middle Eastern, 1. Asian, Indian, if not her race, 0. Or maybe that's -1 and these numbers are offset. That could be. Actually, I think that's what it is. I think 2 is the highest score, and when I printed this out, that moved everything over. Tribe, businessman would be, I'm not sure now. That would be the highest ranking. Her tribe, 2. Bad boy, cool guy, 1. Average guy, 0. Low ranking tribe, -2. The height scored the highest. That might be 6'2" to 6'4". I think that's a 2. 6 foot to 6'2" would be a 1. 5'9" to 5'11", 0. 5'6" to 5'8", -1. And if you're under 5'6", a -2 was given. Body, they broke it down into broad shoulders, 1. Average shoulders, 0. Narrow shoulders, -1. Okay, I think I figured out how this is. Fitness points. Her tribe's usual body type, that would be a 2. Muscular and lean, 2. Just lean, 1. Average, 0. Skinny, if not body type for her, 0. And fat, they gave a -2. So this is part of their formula. Style, James Bond would get the most points. I think that was 3. Stylish, 2. Average style, 1. Seinfeld style, -1. Asperger's, -2. I scored here a -2 for age because it was in 25 years, but that's a Western standard here. Face, I had 1. Average. Race, 2, because they had a 2 for white. Tribe, 0. Listed myself average guy. Height, I got a 1 because I was in the 6 foot to 6'2" range. Body, broad shoulders, 1. Fitness, 2, because I was muscular and lean. I was in the best shape of my life at that time. Style at the time, I concluded it was more of a Seinfeld style. So I got a -1. So if you add these up, I got a 4. And that was at the very height of my fitness level, 4 out of 10. A 4 out of 10. So now I would probably be more like I don't know, a 2 or 3 out of 10, according to this. So they also mentioned this article, your looks outside of massive amplifiers like obscene wealth and fame is the most important category for attracting women. Your looks are also the most limiting factor, meaning without looks, you can't play the game. It says if you want to be a player, you need to become at least a 7. And in that scale, I would have been a 4 and maybe lower today. Hi, Ken. You escaped jury duty. I've never been fortunate enough to even try it. Thanks for being on. I was late because they changed up the look to the live stream. I couldn't figure out how to go live. It was asking me about put this encoder somewhere, and I don't have one. I've never used that. Never done anything like that. So it took about half an hour to figure it out. So welcome, Ken. We're talking about game. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, Ken, as we go on. The game or the qualities that you need to have to sell yourself to a Filipina is much, much different than it is here in America or some other Western country. And I wasn't interested in it being a player anyway. But back then, I would have been a little demoralized to score only a 4. If you didn't know already, when a good man wants to marry a good Filipina, the looks decrease significantly as a factor in attracting women, specifically Filipinas. Your looks are something you can do something with. For example, I do color my hair, and I did long before I met my wife online. The reason is I just felt like the thought of looking for my first serious relationship and having gray hair just kind of bothered me, just the thought of that. I had a full hair of hair, so took advantage of that. However, I also changed my hair, and yes, you can change your hairstyle. That's just something you can do. There's nothing, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with you to dress a little differently or change your appearance in some way if you can. Nothing demeaning about that. In many cases, it's just wise to do. At the urging of my wife, I changed my hair. And sometimes you can do something with your body. Now, my wife never liked the length of my hair when I met her about 4 years ago online. She confided in me that her family, probably mama, suggested that she do something about it. There isn't much you can do about your age, race, or face. As for clothes, that can make a difference. Even with a Filipina, I think they like a man who isn't attired in wife beater t-shirts. And when you're talking to them online, if you are blessed to find a Filipina to marry, be open to her fashioning you into what appeals to her. That is a lot different than having to make changes and hoping that it appeals to someone. Uh, got gray? Well, maybe in the Philippines, I'll do that. Moses or noses? I can't tell what you're saying. They say long nose or big nose here is a negative. I think Filipina, though, they like long noses. Many of us have heard our Filipino wives say, long nose, long nose. They're attracted to the long nose. It's a Western feature in men, and that they really like it. I'm not just saying that to sound cute. Yeah, they really do. I've heard it from several guys, and they say, "Oh yeah, my wife says the same thing. She likes my nose." Oh, my wife says, "Big nose, big nose." I say, "Oh, it's not that big. It's not Carl Malden big." Um, I don't know how they feel about that. They tend to like a long, pointed nose, so I hear. So another part of your game, according to the link that you'll see, it's in the promo, but I'll put it again in here, is confidence, charm, and intelligence. Okay, the others with physical features. Now we're talking confidence. They have Trump-like confidence. 10 is the total here, but that's the highest. You get 6. Trump-like confidence. Not many do, but they give him a 6 for his game, for confidence. Alpha, 4. Beta, 2. And omega, -10. And if anybody out there can tell me what an omega is, I would be grateful, because I have not heard of that one. Trump, alpha, beta, yeah, omega, I don't know what that is, but it's not good apparently, because the author of that article gave it a -10. Pretty hard to make up ground there. Now, charm, they said, if you have James Bond like charm, you get a 6. If you're just generally charming, you get a 4. Average charm, 2. If you're awkward, they scored that a 1. And Asperger's, they say -10. -10. So if you're omega and have Asperger's, you'd be a -20 already. They do list intelligence here, although they don't have the same high points for that, by genius, intelligent, average, and dumb. And this is interesting. Genius, to give you a 3, intelligent 2, average 1, and dumb, they say -1. My scores, I got a 4 again here, 4 out of 10. Confidence, 2. So I wasn't, at the time I met my wife, it probably was lower than that. because I was at my wits' end at that time. But charm, I put confidence 2, charm only 1, intelligence 1. That's average. Charm was, you know, uh, awkward, average. I don't know. When you go so long alone, I don't know how you're going to have a whole lot of charm and confidence, as I was alone for so long. But I was hopeful, so I had a total of 4. Confidence 2, charm 1, intelligence 1, for a total of 4. Not very good. Now they have some amplifiers that kind of override all of those other things. Yeah, alpha beginning, omega ending, but in the Bible, that's what that means. But as far as the confidence type, looking at Trump 6, alpha 4, beta 2, omega must be a personality that has very, very low confidence, I would suppose. I'm just not familiar with that term. But here are your amplifiers. They say Illuminati, bonus of 30. If you're making $250,000, a 10, greater than 100,000, a 5, $45,000, 2.5, less than 30,000, they score that a -1. So it's an amplifier that's not very healthy. It's not very helpful to get a -1. That's what they're saying. The more money you make, the greater your amplifier, the greater it can overcome a lack of looks or charm or, confidence or intelligence. Now, another one is status. If you're really famous, that's a big amplifier. You get 30 points. If you're a CEO, which is also good, you get 10. If you're a partner or business owner, that's good. You get 5 points there as an amplifier. And then it goes down if you're just a regular employee, 2.5. They say if you say you're a janitor, -2. And if you're on welfare, only if you tell her, -10. So my score here was very average, 2.5, 2.5. So I got a 5 out of 10 right there. Well, Ken, it's worked out good for you, and I don't think anybody succeeds on the first time for SSDI, but that's what they say. But there's a lot of guys that are on SSDI that, according to this, with the West would score extremely low, yet they happen to have wives that they really love and that are much younger and more attractive than they can get here in the West. And it's a good reason to consider someone overseas. Now, they also mention here, now this is important. This is probably one of the most important things to remember from the whole video. Now they talk about relationship skills. Here's a category that if you don't score well, it's important to improve this. As you will see, if you think being caring, dutiful, and stable are not worth it, think again. The writer of the article I linked for you says these are still extremely important. Don't get discouraged here. This is the category that Filipina will find very appealing. Of all those scores, I scored the best in this area, which probably made a lot of difference. So starving for a wife, but I scored good in this one. And I think it certainly made a difference in finding a wife. Jay Bud is in the house. Thank you, Jay Bud, for being here. Please comment here, anybody, because we all have some kind of game. We all kind of wonder where we maybe are going wrong, and Mr. E is so wrong. Please comment. I didn't really have much to disagree with on the points that he's talked about so far. But please comment. We're talking about game, sexual marketplace, and marriage marketplace. In this one, you've got caring, dutiful, and stable that he rates very, very highly. A lot of people recommend make the girl chase you. Some people say play hard to get. Um, James Dobson, actually, if you're familiar with James Dobson, recommended playing hard to get. And just be yourself. You have something about you that's your raw material. It's a good starting place. You want to be yourself. You don't have to make a total extreme makeover, but I'd like to think to appeal to someone, they're going to appeal to some things about yourself. Um, yeah, chasing her can. Are you saying that Jay Bud, that when you chase her, you make her think that, okay, I got this guy where I want him. I can kind of, he's like silly putty in my hand because he's chasing me. Um, well, I think guys feel kind of the other side of the coin there. Some people that if you play hard to get, make her chase you, then um, you'll be more appealing to her. I don't know. To be honest with you, I never liked the thought of playing hard to get. Why? Because I just tend to be very um, direct and aggressive and trying to get what I want. It just wasn't working, finding somebody. It did work for me. In fact, it only took 54 days to get married, when I joined a dating website for the Philippines. Yeah, just being yourself can I don't have a problem with that. Okay, if it's not playing hard to get, then how would you describe that? Hi, Phil's to Phoenix. No problem. Oh, I see you have a wrench and your name is in blue. So let that be a warning to anyone who tries to get carried away. And I don't think that's really going to be necessary tonight. At least it shouldn't be. Um, I want to know what you think, J Bud 5000. Tell her what you want and see if she can fulfill it. That's essentially what I did because I explained very straightforward in my profile what I wanted. Now, some guy that was already married told me, he said, I don't know if I would ever use a dating site, but if I did, I would just flat out say, this is what I want. This is what I need. This is what I'm looking for. And I remembered that. And I hope I didn't come out sounding desperate. I wish I could have that for you, but it's been lost, what was in my profile. But I was like that, Jay Bud. I was just saying that's what I'm looking for. I even said, this is my past. And my wife didn't care about being alone for so long. In fact, she told me and everybody at the wedding that she was going to make me forget about all those 30 years. And, she certainly has. Um, and yeah, I suppose I've never been in a situation where I could chase anybody. Um, don't walk on eggshells uh, with her. So I suppose you mean Jay Bud not tippy toeing around issues. Um, Let me know if you're direct and say, this is what I need, this is what I'm looking for. I think to the right Filipina, she could construe that as having a certain amount of confidence. You're just saying, well, anything else, and I can't do that. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I have to offer. This is the plan I see for a workable marriage. That's what I'm looking for. That's why it's better than being extremely vague, I guess, just to try not to be offensive right away or to get off to a good start. I mean, there's something to be said for starting slowly. I just didn't do it that way. Jay Bud, I got to get this out of the way, and I would be happy to respond to you. Get out of here. Okay, not you. To that this thing that got in the way here. Uh, yeah, yeah, Ken. We match or we don't. Depends on how much of a match you have in mind. Women, I think, have a longer list of things that they're looking for, especially in the West. And I think it gets longer all the time. I saw Dr. Phil show where they had a woman on there, and she had such a long, long, long list, that she was looking for in a man. I think she was serious. I didn't have a whole lot on my list, and Ken, I know you had a list of requirements, and there's nothing wrong with that. Good biblical requirements, and you're looking for someone that matches. That would probably, I would say, in general, the more things on your list, the more difficult it is, more challenging it is to find somebody that you think matches up to that. Um, However, I think you should have some some things that are must-haves. You must know what your deal breakers are, and I had that. I mean, essentially, I wanted a Christian. That was the number one thing. I didn't have to know everything about her. We got engaged in 18 days, married in 54, and we're coming up on 4 years of marriage. And I don't think we've ever been happier or doing better. Marriage is hard work. I'm never going to sit here and say, "Hey, find a Filipina. They're just like wind-up dolls, and you can do anything you want and be okay," because you can't. The better choice of wife you make, the easier it is to work through the inevitable difficulties that you'll have. So I didn't compromise. I've seen people say, when you're going online, finding somebody online, be as vague as you can so you can uh, get the biggest list of potential prospects. And I kind of did it the other way around. I said, this is who I am. This is where I've been. This is where I want to go. This is what I have to offer. And it worked out very, very well. Okay, yeah, Jay Bud. If she thinks you're being, or excuse me, if she thinks you think you're undeserving, she will treat you accordingly. And well, or yeah, it could be that she just won't be interested. There's a certain level of confidence that, as we've seen here so far, is important to have. Not necessarily arrogance or being cocky, but sure of yourself, kind of knowing where you're going, and you have a plan for your life. But yeah, if you come on and feel, I don't know, make comments that make her think that the man has low self-esteem. Um, he's out there to just settle for somebody. You know, that would be unappealing to somebody on a dating site. Kind, caring, honest, Jesus guy. If not enough, yeah, take a hike. Harsh, but no need to fix, or no need for wishy-washy person. Um, Everybody has to be comfortable with their approach. At some point, you have to just be yourself and say it either works or it doesn't. That was my approach. I was overwhelmed with the amount of uh, messages I got, which is not uncommon for an Asian dating site. And my wife, the story, she said, well, she wanted somebody. She thought I was a good prospect, but to see if I was serious, she said, I'll hide my profile. I just joined up. I'll hide it. And she wanted to go steady. She didn't make me. She didn't force me to. Didn't say I had to, but she said, that she will hide her profile if I will focus on her. No demands. Well, and she did that. And I said, well, yeah, I just joined up like 5 days ago. Spent $1,200. And she said, well, you can contact other women, but you won't be contacting me. So she wanted to know if I was serious. And I thought, you know what? She's the best, or as good a choice as I have. I just joined up. So we focused on each other, and we did really well. Um, Now I need to, yeah, you don't want to have a, you know, milk toast, lack of confidence impression. Supernatural. Those of us that are believers believe we had some supernatural help to find a wife. I certainly did. The right woman. Some guys, though, I don't want to get into this, but they think they've married the right woman and they made a big mistake. And there's red flags you look out for. It can happen anywhere. It seems to happen more overseas when you just spend less time together. But that's a whole nother topic. And there's a lot out there on the internet about that. But if you do marry the right person, they're not a perfect person. You're not a perfect person. And if you do things the right way, treat each other with respect, and you're not selfish, and you're forgiving, I think you can get a good wife. Understand the friend zone. Once you're in it, the romance options are over. That's reality with women. Not fair or make sense, but it's the way they operate. Yeah, just friends, or if you were more than that and now you're just friends, it's kind of over. You know, Jay Bud, I didn't even have a lot of that. Um, it seemed like by 30, there were no options for anything. I had one. I mean, I would consider them a friend. They were a woman, and that's all I wanted. They wanted a marriage. All I wanted was just to be a nice guy and a friend, and they want to be married. And evidently, I hurt them badly by telling them in a nice way that I just wanted to be friends. And they told me how they felt about me, and I can see why that would hurt them. But I was being honest and trying to be considerate of their feelings, and we're just friends. But yeah, if you're in a friend zone of a woman, I don't know, Jay Bud, is there anything that can get you out, or is it just like a black hole or something? Tom and Ruth Philippine Adventures. Hello, hello, hello. Ken is here. Tom, you got a live stream tonight. That's main reason I think I start at 6, because your live stream is so popular and very excellent. So if you're not familiar, whoever's watching this now or later, Tom and Ruth Philippine Adventures, perhaps becoming the best source of all around information about the Philippines on the Philippines vlogging scene today. Well, I got a sore neck, Tom. My knee was shifting. It needs to be replaced. We're trying rooster grease to deal with that. My knee or my neck is bad today. Been a bad day physically. Some days were like that. You know, I had 3 shoulder surgeries, almost had neck surgery. Might need that. I've had 3 knee surgeries, back surgery. Knee needs to be replaced, and I'm on my feet all day. So I don't know how much longer I can go. But thanks for stopping by. Um, what variables, Ken? Let me know. Yeah, each marriage is for that couple. It's not the same for everyone. That's why for some people, they might flourish in a Filipina foreigner relationship. I personally think it's easier to find a good wife overseas if you are not a player. You're serious about finding someone. You have some common sense. You do some research on what to look out for. I think it's probably easier there, and men continue to flock from the West to the Philippines. And I still think it's an excellent place to find a wife. But everybody, you know, the one video I had recently, is there only one? Is there only one way, one woman that you can marry? Filipinas tend to think that there's only one guy. Uh, you can go ahead and ask Ruth, Tom, if she feels that way. But I have read that, and my wife even said that Filipinas feel like, well, once it's over, it's over. You had that man, it's not meant to be anymore. And I told her, hon, I disagree. You'd make a great wife to anybody. If I go, you can still get married, because I want that for her. But she says, no, no, it's your soulmate. Once they're gone, it's over. But for a man, I think there's many possibilities. You just want to look for basically the same things, the same type of matches. But, I would take the first one I could get that I felt reasonably good about, especially with a LDR, because you got this visa process that's going to chew up some of your time. Phil's to Phoenix is here. Well, I'm glad you were here. I'm always having some kind of electrical, computer, technological problem, just like I was for this, why I was late today. Injury can kill you. Yeah. I got a lot of injuries. But it's tough, but what can you do about it? You start missing too much work, you get fired. We don't want, I don't want to do that. So we're talking about game here, sexual market value, and I scored well here, folks. This is something you want to consider, because this person, it's kind of like maybe he's a player. It's kind of seems like a player's website, but he says the relationship skills are critical, caring, dutiful, and stable. Up until now, we've been dealing with pure attractiveness, and this is from the article. What we haven't covered is how a man's relationship skills affect his sexual market value. It says follow the example outline above, and add them together for a total of 10, which I got a 9. That was my best. Now they say here, the relationship skills are extremely important to women when they're looking for a boyfriend or a husband. They say, despite what she might tell you, she's always looking for a boyfriend or a husband. Would you agree with that, J-Dub? No matter what she tells you, she's always looking for a boyfriend or a husband. They say women screen for 3 major things when they're looking for a relationship. They want a man who is caring, dutiful, and stable, the kind of guy their parents will approve of as a smart choice to raise a family with. Here's their breakdown. Caring, what they mean is that he manages her emotions and is emotionally attentive. He manages her emotions and he is emotionally attentive. They say this is usually the most important factor in a woman's choice in a partner. I can't disagree with that. You can see this is valued slightly higher than the other 2 factors, dutiful and stable. For an emotionally healthy woman, being well cared for is her number 1 priority in a relationship. Let me say that again. For an emotionally healthy woman, being well cared for is her number 1 priority in a relationship. Yeah, my hips have been okay so far. Fortunately, walking around on bad knees might change that, though. Thanks for stopping by, Tom and Ruth, Filipina Ventures. So, and that's one thing I've learned since I've been married to my wife is I care for her emotionally. I mean, if she's down, first thing I'm going to do is try to bring her up. And if I'm down, that's the first thing she does is to try to bring me up. And one of the things that I do for her emotional health is I compliment her often. I tell her I love her often. I never, if I forget at a break to send her a text saying I love you or thank you for this incredible mixture of fish and salmon and noodles like I had today, or something to make her feel good about herself, I feel bad, because I'm in that habit. I expect her to expect me to be appreciative and complimentary of anything that she does for me. And I think this helps her to be emotionally healthy. I think also not yelling at her. I don't raise my voice too much. I've learned that Filipinas don't like that, and I don't like doing it either. Not being critical of her, I think, helps her be emotionally healthy. Being complimentary to her of her looks or her she's frugal, or how hardworking she is, or how bright she is, or how what a good daughter-in-law she is to my mother, or a good daughter to her family. And it could be lots of things, but whatever it is, telling her she's making my life better, I appreciate her so much, that will help her stay with you. Especially, if you're, I think this is a big, what do you call them earlier, amplifier. If you don't have quite the looks or the fame or the money, if you can be able to make her emotionally strong and healthy, and keep her that way, build her up, make her feel good about herself, because women have lesser egos than men do. So that's what I do. I take her emotional health very, very seriously. Now, dutiful, another thing they mentioned there, they say here, meaning he performs his job as unpaid escort to social functions dutifully. Guess he does what a man has to do with his wife, even if he's not crazy about doing it. And that's just part of being married. Ken, you're on a roll here. I don't think I can possibly. Now, Ken is one guy you're never going to have to use a wrench on, Phil's to Phoenix. Keep getting these annoying things in the way. Um, Ken says, careful on some are overly emotional, and mostly the younger girls, Ken, you think, overly emotional? Um, yeah, it is part of growing up, Ken. Be confident or not get upset if things go wrong. The older I get, the more I realize you have to, if you want to be healthy. Getting older is just, if it bothers you, what good does it do to complain? Is that going to help? Is that going to fix anything? That's what I tell myself. What's the point? What's the point of raising my voice, complaining? Never did any good all these years except stress me out. And that's a quality that any woman, especially a Filipina, is going to appreciate, because they don't like demonstrative and loud foreigners. I do enjoy comforting my wife. Not that she gets down a lot; she really doesn't. She's a Filipina. I think these women are tough. I think they're probably tougher than Western women. I have had to try to pry out of my wife things that bother her. She had a bad day at work. She's likely not to say anything. Most of the time, how's your day, hon? Good. Everything go well today, hon? Yes. How's your day? Fine. And I said, well, okay. How was it good? What happened that was so good? But if I can tell in her tone of voice, good. Okay, hon, I know it wasn't good. Now tell me what's going on. So I want her to feel that it's appropriate and necessary for her to tell me how she's feeling. If she's feeling bad, somebody's bothering her, if somebody's bullying her at work, um, then I should know about that. Yeah, Ken, internalizing, very bad thing. I wish when I was younger I wasn't so uh, hot-headed. I just felt that was natural, so why change? And then you get older and you find out nobody likes your hot-headedness, and it just stresses you out. So uh, silence is abuse. Rule one, yeah, you got to talk about things, and it's okay to talk about, even if she's unhappy with me. I should know about that. And then stable. They list here caring, dutiful, stable. By that they mean he's hardworking, he's reliable, he's home for dinner, stable. You could have some money, looks, maybe even youth on your side, but if you're not caring, if you're not dutiful, if you're not stable, I think most women, not just Filipinas, probably will not see you as real marriage material. But you may disagree with that, and certainly welcome to share your opinions here. So this is another interesting thing they said here. Let me know if you disagree. From that same article, for those of you guys who still think being a provider is beta and not what women are looking for, you are dead wrong. They say, this is whoever wrote this article, the ideal man for women is an alpha with beta characteristics or an alpha male provider. The ideal man for a woman is an alpha with beta characteristics or an alpha male provider. So you can provide and you can be caring and dutiful and all that. I think you got a wide option of Filipinas anyway. May not be the same, here in the West. Stable, yeah, for horses, but different kind of stability here that we're talking about. Yeah, Briggs Myers test. I think my lawnmowers has a Briggs Myers engine. No, that's Briggs and Stratton. Um, Wait a minute, 1,200 USD back in the day. Lawnmowers don't cost that much. Yeah, I have. I'm an ISFJ. ISFJ. Why didn't that sound right? I think that's what it is. Yeah, ISFJ. Introvert. S is for sensory or something. F, feelings, and the other is feelings and thinking. I was like almost a 50-50 split. P's, I had all P's. That means I want everything organized, lined up, got to be just right. No J's. Excuse me, J. ISFJ. That sounds right. ISFJ. I had no P's. And, my wife is an introvert. She's probably quite a bit like me in her temperament and personality. She can flare up with emotion at times. I think she has leadership qualities. Trying to draw those out of her, but we have enough in common that we're very, very relaxed around each other. From the first day I was with her, I never felt nervous around her, anxious because of the age difference, or I just met her, or anything. Never felt. I just felt like, hey, that's my wife. I thought I was going to be nervous and sweating bullets and uncomfortable and breathing hard, and never was like that. It's the same way the first day as it was, yesterday. Leadership classes require Myers-Briggs test. It's a good test. We took that at work one day. Everybody did that. They wanted to do that so you could kind of gain an appreciation for your coworkers, to know why they are the way they are. And, God gave you the personality that he wanted you to have. You might want to be an extrovert. God said, I want you to be an introvert, or vice versa. That's why if you're an introvert, don't come off on a dating site as being an extrovert. I just think you have to, you just have to be yourself. High five her after her outburst. Um, we all get emotional sometimes. I'd rather have my wife get emotional than quiet. Even loud if she gets quiet, because I know it's not gonna last very long. And how about this statement here from this article? Well, this first, they say, I've seen tons of cute girls dating dorky looking guys, and it wasn't because of money. It's because women put a massive value on a man who's willing to care for them emotionally. They say, no, I'm not saying you should let her use you like an emotional tampon, but I'm saying that if you're looking for a girlfriend, you should be able to show her that you can take care of her. And he's talking about emotionally. That might be harder if you're really a quiet guy. In that case, probably would have to rely more on touch, hugs, embraces, stuff like that. And that's an excellent way to communicate. They go on to say, the truth is, when a girl leaves your harem, it's never for another alpha male. is for another beta male who is promising her monogamy. Even if you just want to maintain girls in your harem, adding some relationship skills goes a long way in terms of retention. Now, this writer of the article says some things that make a lot of sense to me, and kudos for his Nicolas Cage reference under status. You know, Nicolas Cage, kind of interesting looking fella, but he's got a lot of status, you know, because he's famous. I like his movies. Eyes and I like his movies. Now, he would score quite high, yet, unfortunately, Nicolas Cage has not, you know, fared so well in the relationship area, despite his fame and money, and I know he's had difficulties. That's for sure. Her voice is important as mine. You mean her opinion and opinion and you know, thoughts and insights. Yeah, Ken, that's what I did. You know, congratulations. You know, 10 years of studying, classes for marriage, seminars, interaction with different women. I always pick the brains of people that, like my pastors in church. Okay, voice, equal opinion. And I asked them, I always did, you know, because I thought marriage was right around the corner, and I wanted to be ready. If there was a new book, you know, I tried to read it. Cassette tapes in those days, then CDs, reading, everything, you know, conversations. I probably drove people crazy, you know. Well, I wasn't going to let up. There were times I had to back off because it was just too overwhelming, because I couldn't do anything with what I was learning. And then I'd just go back to it and keep trying to stay fresh in case I needed it. And that was just one way of preparing for marriage. So, can you be a caring man, dutiful and stable? If that is important to you, then marrying and keeping a Filipina is something you can do. I didn't have style and fame, you know, but I did want to give my wife a better life, and I do care about her emotionally. 50% info incorrect. Fairy tale. I'm not sure what you mean, Ken. I'd like to hear what you mean, though. Number 4 here was back to Mr. E's comment on the marriage marketplace. MMP, if you see that stands for marriage marketplace. And the marriage marketplace is an offshoot of the sexual marketplace. He says, our ancestors found out since biblical times, since Adam, Eve, and the Garden of Eden, that a completely unregulated sexual market is bad for society, leads to disorder, and ultimately collapses civilizations. They say in the Bible, God made it very clear, every man should have a helper in the form of a wife. It does say in 1 Corinthians 7, let every man have his own wife and let every woman have her own husband. And it's as strong as a command. Very, very few exceptions. The exceptions being somebody that is not interested in sex, essentially, and can go on with their life with other things. And that may seem like an absolute, you know, made believe impossibility, but there are people, you know, that are like that, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's just the way they are. I'm going to have a video coming out maybe this week called "Are You Incomplete Without a Wife?" Probably in a few days. And they say that is why throughout every major society on earth, monogamy has been the standard. The church mandates it, and why societies that rely on monogamy rise to the top, as every man has an opportunity to find a wife, if he so chooses, in order to satisfy his biological needs for companionship and sex. That's what I think it comes down to. You know, I told my wife that before she was my wife. You know, I had 2 needs. Those were those 2 needs. I'm trying to find my place here. The marriage marketplace relies on man's fitness to lead, to be a provider, commitment, and maintain consistent frame. Now, my thoughts, Mr. E also cited how God's word says, you know, as I mentioned, let every man have his own wife, let every woman have her own husband. In previous videos, I've shown that marriage is actually God's idea in the first place. You know, that's why it's so important to me. He was actually biblical language. He was married to Israel in the Old Testament, and Jesus came to this earth to save and procure a wife for himself called the church. He is, the bridegroom. The church is his bride. There'll be a marriage feast someday in heaven, and when he will consummate that relationship with his wife, the church, and it will be eternal bliss from then on. The only thing that can even come close to that is sex. I think, as far as what heaven will be like, um, is sex. That's the greatest pleasure in the world, and somehow union with God at this marriage feast, and they consummate it in heaven, the church and Christ. It will be better than that. But the closest we can do here on earth is sex. And by the way, not that anyone cares, but I do see no reason why there will not be sex in heaven. I once saw like 100-page dissertation on that, and I just don't think you need that much information on it, because um, uh, the people in heaven have resurrected bodies, or they will have resurrected bodies. Bodies. Um, the Mount of Transfiguration, Moses and Elijah were known as Moses and Elijah, even though nobody had seen them for hundreds of years. When we're there, we'll know everybody. We'll be known, and we'll know other people. Um, we'll know who everybody is. They'll know us. We'll have our bodies. There's no reason to think that one particular part of the body will no longer be useful. And some people disagree with that. I just don't see any reason why. Why wouldn't it be? Now, the whole structure of things there is going to be different than it is here on earth. And yes, the Bible says there is no marriage in heaven. And marriage is an earthly institution. However, we will be there with our bodies, and we will be perfect, morally perfect. And the reason, God says, well, marriage now on earth is for one person. So we're not, spreading ourselves around all over the place, sowing our oats. And so God confines us to one person for the good of society, the good of ourselves. Well, in heaven, there will be moral perfection. We'll have our bodies, I don't know. I just don't see any reason why the greatest thing known in the world, the greatest pleasure, would not be part of the greatest place in existence in the world. But that's just what that thought came to mind. Yeah, no marriage in heaven. Well, yeah, no pain. Wouldn't that be nice? There won't be any pain, won't be any tears. It'll be ultimate pleasure, and hopefully more than that. Yeah, Rodney, are you at break or something? I welcome comments here. Ken's been sharing a lot. They're talking about games, sexual marketplace, marriage marketplace. I found the marriage marketplace was totally dead for me personally. I took the same game I had to the Philippines, was engaged in 18 days and married in 54. I don't know that I did anything really, really different. This is from Mr. E. How do these two marketplaces relate? How do they differ? He says, while there is much overlap in regards to the sexual marketplace and the marriage marketplace, as women evaluate your marriage market value from the base of your sexual market value, they say this is where things diverge. In a good woman's mind, when it relates to marriage, when selecting a proper mate, women often evaluate a man's leadership ability, commitment, or investment level, and ability to be a provider in a relationship. The reason for this is women subconsciously want to pick a man that will give her and her offspring the best possibility for survival. They say a woman's greatest fear is being saddled with children with the man cutting and running. Boy, does that happen often in the Philippines. While often overlooked, most good women from conservative families have a father in the picture. Um, my wife's parents have been married for probably 34 years now. The father often has major say in who his daughter dates in order to protect his daughter from the men who like to make the least amount of investment possible. And we talked about that, was it 2 weeks ago? And we had a live stream called Is the Philippines Dead for Sexpats and Marriage Minded Men? That is why in the old days of America and the Philippines, Filipinos from good families often required a man to marry before having sex. Now, myself, Mr. E's remark about leadership ability, commitment or investment level, and ability to provide are more or less the topic of many of my videos. Um, why you shouldn't focus solely on your sexual market value. I think we place a lot of emphasis on that in America. They say while it is important to focus on your sexual market value, as they alluded to previously, it is important for a man to focus on his marriage market value, as marriage is often the requirement to have healthy children and to ensure their survival and to repeat the cycle. They say those who do not get married often are at a great disadvantage to those who are, and the offspring that they do father often die early on or lead very broken lives compared to their two parent household peers, which seems like a rarity today, um, to have that two parent household. Um, my thoughts: a player works on improving their sexual market value for the purpose of increasing their what they call a notch count and for bragging rights. What often ends up happening to these men when they reach their 40s is they begin to feel restless with their lives, feeling like there is something missing. Perhaps it is meaning and purpose that can be fulfilled, leading to a satisfying life that they don't have. They might miss out on children altogether. I don't have children, and my wife and I are still uh, trying for that. She would like to have a baby, and I would like to give her that. Now, if we don't, it isn't for lack of trying, which is a load off of my load off my conscience. Sports car is great till it breaks down. Women choosing Playboy of a good man. Well, the Playboys, the players, they're not in it for the long term. They're probably open about that. Um, my concern for them is I think it's reality that, I think your options go down when you get older, at least in the West. But if you're never going to be serious about marriage, then I just don't I just can't imagine that. I can't, and I don't want to get into the whole men going their own way thing again. And I don't want to get distracted with that. It's crippled a lot of people's lives, mentally, emotionally, financially. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. I just hate to see anybody just pack it in and say it can't work. It's impossible. I just think we're meant to be together, and it's a corrupted world. Sin has corrupted everything, even marriage, as people don't stay together, and now people try like they used to. Very, very unfortunate thing. Yeah, all the red flags ignored till the baby comes. Guy leaves them. Yeah, the Filipinas are well acquainted with that. Now, most Filipinas want to have children, at least one. If you're a foreigner looking for a wife overseas and you are open to fathering a child, you just increased your marriage market value a ton. If you want a beautiful, sexy, younger wife that is way, way out of your league, that isn't impossible to do. Just be mature, honest, caring, dutiful, stable, like we've talked about. Other metrics or indicators of Western marriage market value don't apply the same way they do in the Philippines. I think it's quite all right to improve your sexual market value as long as it is a component of your marriage market value. Why marriage market value is good for attracting the right kind of Filipina. This is from Mr. E. The Philippines is a very conservative society and places great importance on families. Filipinas have been instructed by a young age by their mothers and fathers on the importance of marriage and the importance of finding a good husband. Filipinas are often surrounded by dysfunction by other families or their own families where their parents have split up and they see the repercussions of these actions. That is why it is very important for foreigners to focus on their marriage market value rather than their sexual market value, as Filipinos often take marriage very seriously and traditionally hookup cultures don't exist. While times are changing and hookup culture is becoming more common, Filipinas from respectable families are often chaperoned by family members in their first couple dates until the prospective mate earns the family's trust to be left alone with their daughter or sister. My comments here, my channel, Love Beyond the Sea, is a channel for foreigners seeking Filipinas for marriage. I believe the best situation for just about everybody, but not everybody, is marriage. Focusing on caring and providing are much better than focusing on your muscles or getting rich or driving fancy cars. I think it's easier to acquire too. Filipinos don't want players, they want partners for life. The Philam husbands that I am most acquainted with around here come across to me as men who have a desire to be good to their Filipino wives, are interested in their Filipinas families, and they have respect for their wife. And the final point here from Mr. E on all this, why the West is an outlier and why you shouldn't use it to measure your success with women. They say, as many listeners to Love Beyond the Sea already know, if the West's sexual and marriage marketplace is very broken. Women in the West, due to feminism and lack of available supply of healthy women, often have an overinflated sense of their own sexual market value. And this is compounded by male thirst due to the restrictions placed on the sexual marketplace in the West. They say 4 and 5 sexual market value women become 7 and 8s due to this artificial inflation. In more healthy societies like the Philippines, the sexual marketplace and social dynamics are more normal and more natural as women understand their role in the sexual marketplace and look forward to courtship and marriage, unlike their Western counterparts. It should be noted that most sexual market value calculators on the internet are directed toward domestic dating rather than international dating. It's a whole different game, no pun intended. They go on to say this is of importance as men who score poorly in the USA, for instance, will be boosted a few points higher overseas due to qualities, characteristics, and attributes that the local female populations like, as opposed to the bad reception that men get at home with American women. The best way to measure your sexual market value overseas, they say, is posting a very good picture of yourself, creating a Tinder account, and spoofing the different locations to see which nationalities like you the most as an experiment to see how you rank in comparison to others. Now, I agree with Mr. E. Sexual market value in America is a lot different in the Philippines. Being older, wiser, and being perceived as more faithful and mature have a lot more value to a Filipina than does money, status, charm, intelligence, age, face, height, body, or a particular dressing style. I think it comes down to the relationship skills mentioned earlier, such as being caring, dutiful, and stable. False culture expectations. I just think the Philippines is a little bit more old-fashioned still. People say that. Can I find an old-fashioned wife in the Philippines? Well, you can come close anyway. I think Filipinos make good wives. I think older guys who don't score the same with sexual market value in America have, not just in theory, they've proven it. They've been able to find good wives in the Philippines. Maybe they weren't looking for a 9 or a 10. They were looking for someone that wanted to get married, uh, somebody that wanted to be a wife, somebody that was feminine, you know, quiet, had pride in keeping a good home, maybe wanted children still. And to a Filipina, again, 30-year age gap is nothing. Um, that's about the limit I would go to personally. Don't want to be dogmatic on that. We've got a 27-year age gap, but a lot of that has to do with the the guy, and the way he treats her. Well, while I personally was getting older, all those years that I was single, again, I wasn't wasting the pain. I did a lot of research and study, listened to tapes until I got depressed over it because I had nothing to do with that information. I was hoping against hope, but I did believe that somehow, some way, God could find me a wife, and always could. Just didn't know why there was so much deafening silence. Now I know why, because I married a younger, mature woman from the Philippines when I was 53. That 30-year wait, which felt like 300 years, now seems like it never happened. Don't even think about that anymore because of the companionship of my wife. And, we've had our ups and downs. Everybody will tell you that. But we learn from our mistakes. We don't repeat them very often because we don't like the way we feel. We feel a lot better when we're getting along and doing the things that need to get along. And there's just nothing better than a good woman. Nothing better whatsoever. Um, so at the same time, my apparent value or appeal to women where I live was diminishing. I was making myself more appealing, evidently, by concentrating on becoming the best marriage partner I could be, best husband I could be. So, I just focused on love and what that was. I have a video called How to Love a Filipino Wife that talks about what love really, really is. There's a lot of confusion about love, and for something that's so important, it's important to get a good grasp on what that is. I just personally think being single is about the most difficult thing in the world to do. I have great empathy for people that are single for whatever reason or cause. I always wondered what I was missing out on, and now I already know what I was missing out on. B Rad James Kelly PV. What did you miss in an hour and 27 minutes and 52 seconds? You missed a lot. I'm not getting a lot of negative comments to Mr. E's, so I guess Mr. E's comments that are the basis of most of this video, as I said earlier, been pretty quiet. So maybe people are agreeing with Mr. E. I wish you were here, B Rad. Love to hear your comments. We're talking about game, marriage market value, sexual market value. Um, I think a lot of guys I know, and I know more Phil-Am couples than I ever thought I would. I don't think the guys probably had the game that they would need to be successful in the West, but B-Rad, these guys were very caring, understanding, mature guys that had learned from all the mistakes they made in the past. They all have much younger wives, and the wives seem happy and content. The husbands seem happy and content, and that's why I focus on this channel because it worked for me. And now you're speaking Filipino. Elang Teos. Jay Bud, I value your opinions, and what we've said a lot. What do you disagree with? Do you disagree that singleness is so difficult? Um, I just sensed that I couldn't do it. I mean, I was just didn't want to go on. But let me know what you disagree with, J Bud. And B Rad, you missed a lot. But there's always something called the video archive. I know nobody's going to watch all, hour and a half of this, but anytime you want to go back and talk about these things, the by and large, the gist of this is focus on your relationship skills. Don't worry so much about looks. Do what you can. You don't have to be wealthy. Filipinos just want to come up a level or two in their lifestyle. They want to be taken care of. You don't have to be a multimillionaire. The game in the Philippines is being a decent guy but have available money. Um, is there anything wrong with that, though? I mean, you can't be a husband and marry somebody anywhere without money, unless you're going to marry somebody that's going to do all the working, um, like a Filipina. Yeah, well, again, how much money? Do you have to have uh, Donald Trump money and confidence to attract somebody? The husbands that I know that are married to Filipinas they're not rich. They might be getting by we call it pension to pension plus Social Security. Lots of scammers. Lots of scammers. Yeah, of course. I agree. I mean, Filipinos will consider much older, unattractive men, but they're not going to marry somebody that's going to beat them and and abuse them and cheat on them. You know, and that's a good thing, because a lot of us would still be alone if there wasn't a place called the Philippines, and we could, you know, do the best we can being good guys. I do have a video called "Nice Guys Finish First in the Philippines." You want to be a good guy. Oh, Shalini's Art and Craft. Hi there, Shalini. We are talking about game. Can you tell us what you're looking for in a man from the from a Western country? I think it comes down to personality, you know, ability to be caring, provide emotional support, um, being stable. I think the age factor, it doesn't bother me. I have what a Filipina needs, and I offered that, and I want to offer that. What you can get from a Filipina who wants to provide for her family, of course, that's part of the deal. You should know that. They can make you the best wife you can imagine. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you can beat them. Phil's to Phoenix, the guy with the wrench. Most Filipinas I've met want a stable, secure, faithful man that will love them. Nothing more, nothing less. The guys that I know in our circle here, they're just, get rid of this, average, ordinary guys, average, ordinary personalities. They just want someone to love, and they want to love someone. I can't disagree with that. Phil's to Phoenix is married to a Filipina, living in Phoenix, of course. And I've watched some of his videos. He's an average, ordinary guy that comes off as someone that loves his wife, treats her well, is supportive of her. It's working out well. Phil's to Phoenix has what every man wants, I think. Ground Zero 69, thanks for popping in here today. I want to hear from Jay Bud again. Age, here Phil's Phoenix, age looks most other standards are a far second. I mean, Filipinos do have standards, right? I mean, we're throw out the exceptions, 90, 85-year-old man, 20-year-old Filipina. When I was looking for a wife, if the Filipina selected on her profile the foreigner's age, if they said didn't matter, I moved on. If they said 20 to 80, I moved on because I was looking for something a little bit more realistic. Some of the Filipinos only want a guy that's their age. If they're 23, they might say 23 to 25. You do see that on dating sites. Not all younger Filipinas are interested in an older guy. So understand that. That is true. But the 20 to 80, no, I think that's a red flag. I don't think you want to do that. I wouldn't look at it as her saying, well, it doesn't matter to me. I'll be a good wife to everybody. I would look at that, not trying to be judgmental, but I would look at that as being, I have so few standards that, that it doesn't matter. That just rubs me the wrong way. Okay, confidence is key in everything, not just relationship. If you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect to get anywhere in life? So again, could be applied to other aspects as well. Well, yeah, a lack of confidence. Women, I've always heard, can smell a lack of confidence a mile away. I don't know. I'm only confident in the things I do well. So I guess if you're making a profile, talk about the things you do well that you're confident in, and you'll come across as confident. But yeah, in work, in my place, if I'm learning a new job, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't want to do it. Once I learn how to do it, I feel good. Otherwise, I don't even want to go. I don't want to get up and go to work that day. And it shows, lack of confidence. Rodney Bishop, who also has obtained a wrench. Yeah, Phil's Phoenix, I've seen that too. I am a poor man, but my girl loves me. She was not looking for a rich man, but a good man. A rich man who is abusive, who isn't at home, who has wandering eyes, who is unfaithful. It's pretty worthless to a Filipina. Ground Zero 69 said something probably a little questionable. Maybe I'll see that later. I don't know, but thank you, Rodney. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Jay Bud. It's a reality a lot of older men can't accept. Their ego needs to believe they swept their Filipino off their feet. I'm going to agree with you, Jay Bud. I'm going to agree with you. Haven't I said this before? That the number one priority of a Filipina or any other woman that's from a third world country looking for a foreigner to marry is to have a better life for herself, for her family. That's, if you've been to the Philippines and other poor countries, you know what I'm talking about. An Ethiopian man at work told me that when I got married. He said, Bob, Isa is marrying you because, you can help her family, your parents. Now, he didn't say that's it. That's the only reason. My wife wanted a good man. That's, she could have waited a lot longer. She didn't know how much I could provide for her. She never asked. Never asked about money. Didn't even want to accept it. But she felt that I was what she had been looking for and praying for. And that's good. She should. If she's smart, a Filipina should avail herself of every opportunity, especially if the guys in the Philippines, come across to her as being immature, unfaithful, unreliable. she does well if she looks somewhere else. And that does not mean, listen to me here, that does not mean that she can't be a great wife. Um, I'm younger guy, middle-aged guy. Do I want to marry someone that can't give me sex? No. Does that mean I'm a bad guy looking for somebody that can offer intimacy? No. It just means that's important to me. And a financial measure of financial security is very important to a Filipina. Does not mean she won't make you a great wife. I mean, is it a sexual thing if a Filipina that's 20 years old marries a 70-year-old man? Is it a sexual attraction? Of course not. Of course not. I don't want to lose my place here. American marriages are very dysfunctional. Almost a joke, but it's still not the highest divorce rate. Somewhere I read has like a 70% divorce rate. Just awful. Business arrangement. Yeah, Ken. I just I don't like that term because I think it's too simplistic. Did my wife want a better life? She hasn't come out and said that. On the other hand, I know how very grateful she is for me allowing her to work and for my own support. She's very, 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 very grateful and appreciative wife. And because of that, being a responder, who I think women are, she has responded in a way that she's taken care of me in every way I could want to be taken care of, um, even though she's not perfect. But, I meet her needs, she meets mine. We're excellent companions. I wouldn't want to, I want to be with her more than anybody else, and we have an excellent, growing relationship still. But a business arrangement, no, that would only be seen after the fact. Initially, who knows? But if several years down the road, you're happy, you're going places together, um, you're not arguing like dogs and cats, you're planning for a future together, you do things together, you give and take together. Um, that's not a business arrangement. That's called two people wanting to develop a relationship now that they're married. I married my wife in 54 days. How much did I know about her? Whatever she wanted me to know. Um, I wanted to get married and I wanted to invest my life in her. I trusted, she was not, nothing told me she was a scammer or somebody to be afraid of. We're doing really well. Business arrangement, she meets my needs. I meet her needs. She's my best friend. Um, call it what you want. I call it a marriage, and the one that's getting better and better, which I wish everybody would be able to have. Every genre of marriage has its pros and cons. You always believe in being yourself. Yeah, ground zero. Marriage in Western countries becomes an option. Divorce is something to them. Uh, yeah, divorce is a terrible thing. It's it is. I mean, there's nobody that doesn't have friends or know somebody that's divorced anymore in this country. Yeah, well, singleness wasn't an option. I wanted to. I never could embrace that. And if I had, I probably wouldn't have gone to the Philippines and looked for a wife. Selfish behavior will destroy marriage. Jay Budd, that's the wisest, smartest thing anybody will say tonight, selfish behavior will destroy a marriage. Anything else too, work relationships, but especially in marriage. Um, I find, I think a lot of people have said their Filipino wives are very giving, nurturing. We're all selfish. We all come out of that womb selfish. You can see that in children. And to a high degree, we have that selfishness all the way through. Well, we have it all the way through our life. We just have to learn to become less selfish and more giving. Um, I don't know how you can go wrong by being as unselfish as you can to your wife, Filipino wife. People will worry. Well, if you really, go all out and make her feel so secure and wonderful and compliment her all the time, and and give her what she wants. I'm not talking spoiling, but take care of her, then she'll take advantage of you. Well, that may be a risk you have to take. I just haven't seen it that way. Like I said earlier, if I do something, it's all out, and I'm just not going to hold back. And I haven't done that with Isa. I've tried to give her everything I can, um, opportunities, allowances to do things. Um, you got to be unselfish if that marriage is going to work. And then I think you'll find, if you married a good woman, that she's going to be unselfish towards you. And at least in our case, that's what we've had. Yeah, you're right. Selfish behavior. Now, we are selfish by nature. And in a marriage, you got two people that's supposed to be together, one. Sometimes to be one and together, you got to do things you don't want to necessarily do. Like, my wife and her, preferring, because she's not a morning person, to work a night shift. Well, it's not going to be forever because we want to retire as soon as we can, go to the Philippines. But there's reasons for her that I can't go into, that she prefers that shift. I can be selfish and say no, or I can say, well, let's see what happens. I'll let her do that. Not my favorite choice. We'll have to find ways to work around it to be together more, which we have. I mean, half the days we can be together, 7 days out of 14. I prefer it be 14 out of 14, but I don't always get what I want. And I probably shouldn't always get what I want, because sometimes what I want isn't what's best. Uh, Rodney, Filipinas have very high standards, but what they're looking for is different than what we're used to. And I find that their standards are few, short list, but high. After not super demanding, um, and that's true. I mean, you hear the phrase, I'm a simple woman. Simple lifestyle, don't need much. That's thrown around all the time. Um, Simple lifestyle, don't need much, not materialistic, not high maintenance. Uh, they will give you their devotion if you're even an older man, been rejected in the West, but you have a good heart, you're caring, and you want to provide for them. You've lived your life, you realize the mistakes you've made, like Jay Bud said, the danger of selfishness. And you just decide, you know what, I want to invest my life in somebody now. I want to do things differently. I want to learn from my mistakes. Maybe the Philippines is a place to go. Learn, develop your marriage market value, which is uh, your what they call soft skills. Be able to communicate, help her emotionally, talk to her, hug her. Don't berate her, don't criticize her, don't yell at her, things like that. We all pop off once in a while. I do. Um, try to be I try to be better at that. They do have high standards. Well, again, it's like anything else. They either do or they don't. There's Filipinas that seemingly have no standards, but they're the ones, I think, uh, giving themselves to other people who are not, looking to make a commitment to them. The ones with high standards, um, I think my wife has high standards. She could have been married before she married me, but you know, sometimes there's a shortage of foreigners that are very serious about getting married. And I understand being hesitant because of you know the the past and not wanting to get burned again. I understand that. What is the wrench? Well, that means if something isn't somebody saying things they shouldn't say, apparently, Rodney, there's something you can click on and put them in timeout, I've heard, or just block the comment, delete the comment, and so on, block the user. I don't want to have to do that. Just don't be vulgar or rude or make fun of somebody, and nobody should have to use the wrench. But it's just a tool, Rodney, to help keep things moving without people having drive-by shootings like we did. Maybe it was last week, even probably was last week. The Filipinas get more demanding in the USA as they get older. That happens. That happens. Ground Zero 69. I mean, they get used to a certain standard of living. Maybe they get used to going to work and rubbing shoulders with other people. And I mean, you can't insulate her. My wife works, Phil's to Phoenix. His wife does well. We need that. My wife helps us too, by the way. Um, and I rely on her for some things financially, not a lot, but she helps us with some bills. She's got her own car, brand new car, helps her family a ton, and that works for us. She has not been jaded by being here, but she's never wanted to be here. If I were to die, tomorrow, and we weren't living with my mother, I would go back to the Philippines. She's always told me when I'm gone, she's going back home. She doesn't know people here. She knows more now, but she doesn't want to be here. Not all Filipinas are. They may want to get a better life and go overseas to work for that. But if they could, they'd probably, not all, but many would probably choose to be back in the Philippines if they could. And my wife wants to go there, and maybe that's one reason she hasn't been affected or been westernized or Americanized, because she's never seen this as a place where she saw herself after I was gone. Now we're going to be going together someday and retiring in the Philippines. A lot of bad things can happen to a Filipina, especially if she's more naive. She's just going to learn things that you wish she wouldn't learn, and she'll run into people you wish she wouldn't run into. So that has happened to many people. I do have a video that's been watched only about 105 times. It should be doing better than that, called 29 Ways to Prevent Your Filipina from Becoming Americanized. Nothing earth-shaking, just a lot of ways. It comes down to, how you treat her and being caring and all of that. If you happen to marry someone that's her mind is set on leaving you or scamming you, then there's not much you can do unless you can catch it early enough. But we've all seen that. B-Rad, James Kelly, PV. How many people is that? They can, Bob. Why do you think guys get blown out? Approach anxiety is a real thing. At the end of the day, game is mostly 90% psychological. Having control of your emotions as a man is crucial for attraction. Maybe unless you have a lot of amplifiers, like a lot of money or a lot of fame, but like Nicolas Cage reference, I don't know where he's going wrong. But yeah, emotional. That's a stable aspect of a person. Um, well, yeah, game is 90% psychological. You could have really good attributes, but if you're not confident in yourself, then you know you're never gonna be able to maximize your potential. That's why it's nice if you have somebody in your life that cares about you, another guy, male friend, older man, that helps point out the good in you and helps you keeping believing in yourself. And I always had guys, older guys in my life that I looked up to for information, and they tried to help me stay optimistic, about my chances of getting married, so I wouldn't give up. I don't know what kind of game I had other than just being open and honest and stating my needs and convincing her that I was not a player. I guess that was my game. Um, got erased. I don't know which comments got erased, but I have a few people here. If they see something um, that they think isn't quite appropriate, they can take that comment out of circulation. Now, Phil's to Phoenix, you've seen your wife has not changed in 4 years. I don't, we've been married 4 years, 3 years she's been here, and my wife hasn't changed. She thinks she looks different. I don't think she looks any different. And if she's changed at all, it's for the better because she'd never been married before. Um, and so we've had to learn to adjust to each other to try to be married, and we've made our mistakes. We're learning from them. I'm a better man because of being married, to her, and she's. I think she's. I think she's changed. I'm not going to get into why, but she's a better woman. She's learning and she's growing. And I apologize that something got erased. I hope you don't unsub, but I don't know what those comments were. Maybe I'll find out later. Dun, dun, dun. Better life or a good life? Well, Filipina might tell you she has a good life in the Philippines. She's simple life, good life. However, when you're living day to day, Rodney, meal to meal, day to day, with a little bit of food going among multiple family members just to survive, um, I wouldn't want to do that. Now, as I said before, Filipinos are not usually mercenaries, unless you see like a 50, 60 year age difference. Not 60, that's kind of extreme. Um, they want a good man. They want both. They want, they know what they have to offer. They know what you're wanting, what you're looking for too. Um, but they want, I always use better life because I kind of assume they already feel they have a good life. This is maybe semantics, but clarify if you will, Rodney. I think they want security. I guess that's what I'll call a better life. They don't want to have to worry about their next meal, um, which they might. But yeah, I don't know if you're asking me a question or making a statement, but let me know what you mean. Better life or a good life? I want to know what you mean. Good marriage is 50-50 effort. Bad marriage, 50-50 money split, no matter who earned the most. Um, well, again, every marriage is going to have their own philosophy. Uh, 50-50 split. I may not be understanding you. To me, it's my money is her money. I said that right away. I'm not saying you're saying something else. Maybe you are. I don't know. But to me, it's my money is her money. If my wife never made a penny, and she works like 50 hours a week, but my money is her money. When I die, it's her money, and I want her to have my money. And we make decisions together, but I don't know. To me, that's no big deal. 50-50 effort. Um, I want to phrase that a little differently. Let me know what you think. I always think of it as 100% effort, but I'm splitting hairs here. When I hear 50-50, what I think of is, well, I'll scratch my back. If you, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine, or I'll do this for you if you do this for me. I'll only go so far if you do this in return. Um, Here again, my philosophy is just go all out. I'm going to do everything I can for her. I'm not going to expect her to do anything in return. I'm smart enough to know that I'm going to get something in return, um, if I'm good to her, but I don't do things and then wait for her to respond. Does she respond? Yes. Why does she respond? Because I'm good to her. I go all out. I don't ask for much in return. I'm not demanding of her. Um, and she responds. She's smart enough to know what I need, and what I want, and she responds. She doesn't take everything I give her and run. She gives back what she's able to give back. Obviously, I didn't marry my wife for her money, and obviously, I married her for more than her body. I married her for an excellent companion and so on, and she is. So anyway, I don't want to split hairs. I just go all out. I just don't. Only way I know how to do it, and maybe that's you're saying the same thing. However, I'm not going to stop giving to my wife if she stops giving to me. It's just not the way it's going to be. And I believe with all my heart, because of that, she's going to respond. And she has. Rodney, I don't promise my girl a better life, but I wish for her and I to have a real good life. I'm sure you will. Making it through the struggles and coming out stronger and closer at the end of the struggles. Yeah, that's a great thing. And you will, Rodney. Let me tell you, if you are committed to her and she's committed to you, you're going to have struggles. But that's good because those struggles are learning opportunities. They are learning opportunities. You find out a lot about yourself when you're married. When you're single, I mean, when you're with coworkers that you don't like, you don't get along with, you always tell yourself, at least I'm not married to them. I can get away. I can go home. You can't get away from your wife. You have to learn to work things out, for better or worse. No pun intended. The struggles are good. The struggles are good. Conflict is good. It needs to be seen as a good thing. It's there for a reason. You just have to try to figure out why. Where is this conflict coming from? Is it from me, from her? What is the root cause of this? And sometimes it's just being selfish. I'm as guilty as anybody. I'm guilty of jumping to conclusions. My wife doesn't text me or something, and I'm like, oh, she must be mad at me. What did she do? Or, and it turns out, oh, my phone, her phone was out of power, or she didn't even have it. She left it somewhere. I tend to jump to conclusions, and I've learned continually that I can trust my wife. I'm the one that gets, what's the word, starts catastrophizing and making a big deal out of things. But yeah, our conflicts have been good because we've learned from them, which is why I think we don't repeat some things that we've done, because we don't want to feel that way. We just don't want to do those things. Family law attorneys love grief and revenge. Yeah, they do, Jay Bud. I saw that video, very eye-opening video that you referenced to me. Um, you know, that's another terrible part of divorce is the family law attorneys that they just destroy. They destroy you before the worst of it. I mean, the relationship part gets destroyed. It's just seems like they're in it for blood. And Rodney, I appreciate that you're not making any boasts or false claims to her. Um, and I think that's a good thing. You want to be realistic. What is a better life? For my wife, what would I say, hon? I want to give you a better. I always tell her that. I want to give you a better life. I married you to give you a better life. What did I mean? I meant that I wanted to be faithful to her, somebody that she could rely on, somebody that would love her, appreciate her, um, support her, you know, support her family, um, just devote myself. I guess that would be the word I would say. I'm going to devote myself to you. I'm imperfect, as she well knows, but I'm going to devote myself to her and help her any way I can. And I know that's what you're going to do, Rodney. Phil's the Phoenix wife hasn't changed. Yeah, you're lucky. In God we trust. Um, Thanks for popping in here. In God we trust. I probably have not seen you before. The name sounds familiar. You may be a subscriber. You may be. Let me know if you are. Yeah, family law courts. Yeah, they do have game. Uh, he says to Mr. E. Yeah, they have game. They've got a lot of practice. They it's not good game. They got game all right, but it's not the type of game that works in relationships. But they definitely know what they're doing. I mean, they're culprits in all this too, very often. Yeah, give her a chance. Propose 4 hours later. And people think I was lost my mind by taking 18 days to propose to her. Although I started thinking about it at 12. 4 hours? Yeah, I saw a guy on somebody else's channel say he proposed to the Filipina on the plane when he was sitting next to her. You know, um, different strokes, different folks. Kids need both parents in the picture. I think it helps a ton. There's always exceptions, but the father is there for a reason. He's needed, he is necessary. The mother is there for a reason too. That is why many young men and women so lost today in America is they don't have any point of reference to how a marriage works because they haven't seen it work. They haven't seen it work. And you grow up in a society when nobody is telling you how great marriage is, because many times it isn't great. It's very easy to say, why would I want to get involved with that? Why would I want to lose my shirt? Why would I want to lose my money? My self-respect. And it's a sinful world. Everything is corrupted. And but good can still be found. There's still good marriages going on today, and there will still be good marriages in the future. Is it getting harder to find? Probably. A lot of guys now are leaving the country to try to find somebody like I did. I agree with all three of you, B. Rad, James Kelly, PV. Um, my parents were divorced. There's a lot of things I'm sure I could have learned from my father, but didn't. One thing is discipline. Uh, you know, Fathers can, take you to the woodshed sometimes and discipline some foolishness out of you. Mother finds that harder to do. Father's more aggressive, teaching you to take more chances, wanting you to develop yourself. At least that's what they should be doing. Yeah, I agree. Once in a while, you'll find somebody that is successful in spite. Uh, but there are people often some people with like foster kids, people with no parents, and they can end up, uh, well, undesirable lives. It's very, very sad. Perfect match. Good for you, Ken. A supernatural match is a perfect match. Yeah, God knows. God's not saying he's going to take two perfect people and put them together. He's going to take two flawed people together because that's all we are, is two flawed people. Um, Absolutely. Lucky. Yeah, I feel lucky, but you know what? Rodney and Phil's to Phoenix, anyone else that's married to a Filipina, we didn't rely on luck. We went out and asked somebody to marry us, despite what the world thought or our countrymen thought or our coworkers thought or our families thought. We did what we needed to do, and we're not regretting it. Make your expectations known. It takes a little bit of guts to do that. Vulnerability. I was very vulnerable. I told her what I needed. I needed companionship. I didn't want to be alone. I needed a partner. I needed the, intimacy. Um, I had no trouble having Skypes with women, and we got married very quickly. Haven't looked back. Yeah, Ken, I think God was telling me to look overseas. My pastor actually recommended it, um, and because he wanted me to get married uh, wherever there was an opportunity, and he knew I probably wouldn't want to because it's too far away. Never done anything like that, but I did. 54 days later, I've got a wife. 8 months after that, we're together all the time, pretty much. Offshore, offshore your assets or use crypto if you're worried about divorce. They are strategies out there to protect yourself. Having a plan is important. Thing is, you have to know what crypto is and about offshores. But honestly, if I went to my financial advisor and said, "Hey, I'm worried about protecting assets," I know they would know what to tell me. Um, I'm sure that's good advice, B-Rad. I don't know how many people do that. I'm not very familiar with that. Yeah, fathers is important. Young men need masculine role models, which are in short supply today. I agree. Due to divorce, just as they need mothers for nurturing. You can't have extremes. Um, well, I remember my mom watches a lot of old TV. It was Bonanza. Lorne Green's character on Bonanza. I mean, that's a man's man. Today, your characters are what's his, the comics, the sitcoms, where the men are not very manly, timid. Uh, but in the past, the male, if you go back and watch a lot older shows, there was masculine leadership. What popped into my head was uh, what's his name? My Three Sons, McMurray, Fred McMurray, something like that. Not a Lauren a Green, but a masculine character. And of course, in that movie, he didn't have a wife. But my point was, the males are different today in the movies, the big screen. It's sad, that's what people grow up seeing. Sometimes I wonder, although I don't wonder too long, how my life would have turned out differently. But you don't want to dwell on the past. You want to move ahead. Offshoring is not just for the rich anymore. Well, I might be interested if there's a way to make more money that way, but um, I wouldn't want to hide anything. But I mean, if a guy is concerned about that, you might want to jot down some notes here about, what did you call it? Crypto and offshoring assets. Okay, thank you for the quick help here. Look up Nomad Capitalist. You just gave a plug to Nomad Capitalist. Worth checking out, if you're concerned about that. Um, you know, it's been a long live stream, but that's okay. I needed to talk because I was dead tired. Crypto is cryptocurrency. Same thing as Bitcoin. Is that does that have a good reputation among smart financial, analysts? I can't speak on that at all. Um, so I've gone over some of these things already. I was just myself, normal wage earner, you know, uh, like I said, average looks and stuff, going through my profile or my metrics, for sexual market value. And whatever game I had 4 years ago uh, was what she was looking for. It made an impression on my wife. She valued that I was very serious about wanting to get married. And of course, Filipinas are bombarded with comments on their beauty and femininity. But finding someone who wrote how much it mattered to him, which is me, to be married, and what he was looking for and what he wanted to do is probably not the norm. I was very upfront with my feelings. I wasn't ashamed to say that I had not had a girlfriend in a millennium, something that would have sent the women here scattering. It's a good thing for me. The woman is now my wife, wasn't interested in playing games or getting to know a player. She was intrigued by my offer. What I meant by that is I put on the table what kind of husband I wanted to be and how I wanted to treat a wife. I was honest, unpretentious, and likely it came across that way, and that I was caring, dutiful, stable, the traits that were held high in the article and the link that I had tonight. And I'll put that in the description box whenever we're done. In my life, I had learned that you shouldn't express a strong interest in marrying someone, even if you want to. I was supposed to play hard to get. That's what people told me. I just don't care to play games. Never cared to play games. So I just expressed, what I wanted, and people would tell me, "Why do you want to get married so bad?" As if I had a problem. It's like people say, "I want to be single." And people say, "Why do you want to be single?" Like there's a problem with that. Some people can be single. It's not a problem for them. Some people can't, and it's not a problem for them to yearn for something else. So I think my game was I was just being honest. While the goal of Love Beyond the Sea is to encourage foreigners to find Philippines to marry, you don't have to wait as long as I did. That's why I want to help people, young and old, avoid that. Perhaps I would have taken more time if I was a lot younger. But as it was, I felt like I'd waited long enough and I was ready for a relationship. Even though some people say, well, you must not be ready for a relationship because you don't have one. Even if we would be getting to know each other long after we got married. I don't think you need to know every single detail of their life. You won't anyway, probably. Younger men, older men, I'd like to believe that if one's motives are right and they aren't playing any games, they can find a devoted wife in the Philippines. Relational skills and commitment are the most attractive qualities for finding love beyond the sea. Doesn't have anything to do with looks or necessarily having $1 million in the bank. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of being respectful to your wife, Cindy just got home and it's dinner time. I need to get going. You better go, Phil's to Phoenix. Thank you for moderating. Rodney, you too. Yeah, you got to make those concessions. Yesterday we went to a Asian market, drove about 60 miles, thought we would spend a little time there. We spent a lot of time there. But my wife came away and didn't get to do everything I wanted to do. But my wife came away very happy and excited about the haul she made. In fact, I'm going to upload a video on that. They have a lot of Filipino food there, and we'll be going back. And she was just thrilled, you know. She spent, I don't know, a long time putting it away. We had a lot of stuff, and I thought we already had a pantry full of food and shelves and refrigerator and freezer, and somehow she had to make room for all that. She stayed up doing that and then cooked for a couple hours. Don't even know when she crawled in bed. But we got a lot of wonderful food in the refrigerator, and she had my food all ready to go. Just a wonderful, wonderful woman. I'll have that uploaded probably this week. BRAD, marriage is important to civilization. It keeps things running. If everyone's a hedonist, or MGTOW, society would collapse. Well, if everybody also just wanted to stay single, I mean, marriage is important. I mean, look at women that have multiple children and they're not married. I mean, that's it's got to be rough. Um, but nobody can make a man committed. You just have to want to commit, knowing things are going to get tough. I think the single life is tough. I think the marriage life is tough. I just think the marriage life has more benefits. You know, I think to me, being single is more playing it safe, but it's tough, I think. Look at the mouse utopia experiment. Uh, I'm not sure what that's about, but I could do that. But yeah, you don't have to convince me. Marriage is important to society. I was just thinking today, actually. Have you ever thought about the first man, the first person made was a man? That's significant too. The order was man was made first. And within a day, or maybe the same day, Eve was created. Not Steve, not girlfriends. Eve was created for Adam right away. He needed a helper. No waste of time, right away. And ever since then, you know, you get married, leave our homes, raise children. That's always been from the very beginning. And I mean early on. So yeah, I look to the Bible for that kind of motivation. Drinking tea that's about 2.5 hours old. It's still good cold, even if it's not hot. So I appreciate everybody being here. One of my longer live streams, but it seemed like a lot of the people came in towards the middle, and that's fine. I understand that people are going to watch these things later. It could be 5 years from now. And whatever part they might listen to, I hope benefits them. Jay Bud feels strongly about MGTOW. Jay Bud is unabashedly MGTOW. I respect him for that. And I also respect Jay Bud for knowing, you know, why he feels that way. I know he does a lot of research. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that guys that are MGTOW are not stupid. You know, I'm sure they're smart, intelligent people, and I understand that they've been through the mill, through the ringer. My concern, again, this I don't want to get into MGTOW here, although I do want to talk a little bit about it in a video because I don't want to be misunderstood. I am concerned about the future, their future, when you're full of pain, it's easy to say anything would feel better than this. Um, but there are people, if you've watched the Philippines vlogging scene for a while, there have been people who have married, and divorced 2 or 3 times that are still looking, still believing they can find. And um, then there's older MGTOWs telling younger men, hey, you're stupid to get married. Look at me, look at your parents or your friends' parents. And I guess I'd rather let them kind of make up their mind. I know ultimately we all make up our own decisions, but there's more pressure to stay single these days. And I'm a marriage person. I have a marriage channel. I want to help people, encourage them to not give up and to get married, and how to hopefully have a successful marriage from what I've learned. So yeah, Jay Bud's a great guy. He's got great thoughts. He doesn't just throw things out there. Um, I know he's thought through things, and I appreciate how he can express his views in a way that somebody should be able to understand, and that's a good thing. We're all not going to agree with everybody. My wife, perhaps, I'm afraid to ask, she might have some views that I don't agree with, and maybe sometimes it's good not to know everything. But whether we agree or not, we gotta get along and find a way to do that. So it's really getting close to my bedtime because I get up early, and I appreciate everybody that is here tonight. Appreciate the moderators, and I appreciate anybody that watches this video 5 years from now or tomorrow. Um, if you're still here, develop your game, develop your raw material. Don't be afraid to be yourself, because being rejected for being yourself hurts, but it's going to happen to everybody. Even players get rejected. But to be accepted for who you are, warts and all, is a wonderful, wonderful thing. And Filipinas to me come across as very accepting people. As we talked about earlier, they don't have a lot of things they're looking for. They don't have a long laundry list. The things they're looking for make sense. They want faithfulness. They want somebody to provide for them. Every woman wants emotional support. We learned about that. I agree with that. And you can have game. Just make sure it's really you. Do the best you can with what you have. And if you're having trouble finding somebody in the West, go ahead, take the brown pill and look overseas for a wife. So thank you for everybody being here, late or not. I was a little late. Apologize for that. Now, next Monday is what, 22nd? Trying to have a lot on my plate. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a live stream or not. The 29th, the now departed Phil's to Phoenix and I are going to be doing a live stream together. He will be on my live stream live. I assume you'll be able to see what he looks like. You can go to his channel and see what he looks like. We're going to talk about Philippines vloggers, wives, just the dynamic of having a wife and being a Philippine vlogger. Does she want to be a part of it? Does she tolerate it? Does she despise it? Do we force them to be on it? Does it mean a lot more to us than it does to them? Just that sort of thing. That'll probably be on the 29th next week. I'm not sure. You gave me a thumbs up. All right, that's good, because I never think to do those sort of things. So thank you very much. We will see you live, maybe in 2 weeks for sure. Otherwise, uploads will continue. And thank you for being a part of this live stream. And this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea.